What is up, everybody? 2Bob29 is back in the lounge yet again. Make sure to kick back, relax, and grab some snacks because today it is volume number 8 of the Roundtable podcast. It is the first podcast of 2025 for the wonderful game WWE Champions that we all love to play. Got a beautiful table here with me today. Lots to discuss for the end of the year and the beginning of the year. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody real quick so that you can get familiar with their voice and their name. So first up with me, I have part of the Riff Ref himself representing them, the one and only Mr. B Rock Gaming. How's it going, B Rock?
What's happening, Bob? Representing the Riff Raff, yeah, that's what it is. I enjoy visiting the penthouse with all of you, high rollers. So, I want to say that I'm going to soon start to speak with an upper class voice and inflection and tone, just because I'm around all of you.
Okay, no longer joining the tables with the bare minimum, huh?
No bare minimum, no.
Good to have you, B-Rock. Next up, I have one of my favorite people, honestly, to just shoot the shit with and enjoy and hang out with. Super happy that he's joined TNM and great to see how much he's progressed throughout all the months. It is Bunders 2024. Welcome aboard, Bunders.
Thanks very much, Rob. Appreciate that. Bunders. I've been playing now since just towards the end of April last year, and joined TNM in September time. And I've been part of the podcast pretty much every week, apart from the last one. So enjoy the chat, enjoy listening to the different opinions that people have, and and learning a lot.
Awesome, appreciate it, brother. Next up, the Penthouse himself, and no, that is not a fat joke, because I know that he would still absolutely whoop me if I actually did say it and mean it like that. And he knows that I'm right there with him. It's the one and only Mr. Evolution X. How's it going, Evo?
What's up, Twin Teletubby? Listen, we Evolution here from TNM. I'm here to remind Stokely once again, fix Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Great card, but he's broken. Why not fix it? Thank you.
Just for confirmation and clarity, Evo is regarding Hall of Fame Brutus Beefcake. He doesn't have any issues with Showboat Brutus Beefcake. We all obviously know that is one of the best Showboats in the game, if you're part of the Brutus Beefcake faction. Next up, I have the one and only that has joined me only one time before. And I'm super stoked to have him back on this podcast. I'm sure in about 30 minutes from now, when Feud kicks off, his commentary will very slowly start to dwindle down as he gets enthralled with the feud itself. One of the machines of TNM for sure. It is the Big Show 827. What's going on, Big?
Morning, Bob. Glad to be back in the penthouse for the weekend. Happy it worked out where I had the time off. And can't wait to see what this one goes about.
Yeah, it's looking kind of interesting. I'm not really having too much of an issue with it, I don't think, personally. I think the one thing that kind of catches me off guard about this whole feud setup, at least right now, is that there's no CSS mentioned anywhere. So I don't really know if the CSS are gonna work or not. But I guess time will tell.
Hey, we'll find out in a half hour.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I know you will. And certainly, last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend himself, one of the OGs of the podcast and main reasons that I was able to actually bring it back and rebirth this wonderful platform of ours. It is Southside Envy.
Southside Envy from year on to this. And I want to say my 2025 New Year's resolution is to be way more serious. So no more jokes coming from me. I'm going to be locked in from henceforth. And with that said, shout out to my guy David D, who returned from nowhere to end up somewhere in the future where I hope to see you again someday.
Yeah, shout out to Davey D, big time. Well, that is our cast for today. Hopefully, you all will enjoy. I'm going to be setting up my feud lineup for those of you that are watching on YouTube in the background here. Be getting a little bit of tour gameplay in, a little bit of feud gameplay in to kind of prep for all of that. There's a lot on the list here today, so let's just hop right into it. Let's talk about Xmas Gears. That was the last thing that we missed, I believe, last podcast, or no, actually, it wasn't out by podcast time. So that was the first thing that happened after the last podcast. In the midweek, we got 3 new Xmas Gears. There was one for Tiffy Time, there was one for Technician CM Punk, and there was one for Powerhouse Cody. It also came with a midweek event where you could get some, I think it was like Santa Bucks or something along those lines, that you could get some older Christmas gears out of, which I know included some of the, like the Drew McIntyre ones and the Randy Orton ones and the Cody Rhodes ones. I think pretty much every Santa gear was on there. Maybe not like the super, super old ones like Mark Henry and Vader and whatnot. But a lot of the Christmas gears came out during that time. I think that was the time that we were supposed to have a midweek boss, and from the community outcry and backlash, they decided to remove the midweek boss and gave us tours instead, and I believe that is what they turned into this Christmas gear event. I believe the Tiffy Time was available for $20 on the portal. The CM Punk gear, I think, was like 25,000 of the Santa Bucks on the prize wall, and the Powerhouse Cody gear I know was exclusively in loot. The Tiffy Time gives her blue gem damage, the Punk one gives him multi-gem strength, and the Powerhouse Cody gear gives him a significant amount of starting MP. So wanted to get everybody's thoughts on the new gears. And I wanted to know, did anyone walk away with anything new? Did they chase any of the new gears? What did they think of the event as a whole?
I'll start. So I wasn't too fussed about this event, if I'm honest. I didn't pay too much attention to what was going on. I just logged in and did what I had to do each day. I did get the Tiffy gear. I saw it on a deal and thought, why not? I don't think it makes that much of a difference to her as a character or poster. She's move damage based, so getting 300% gem damage wasn't massive, but it may help if you've got a plate as well, which I don't have, and you run a purple blue. It probably would be quite good in that respect. But yeah, I didn't get any of the other gears. I think there was a new LA Knight gear as well, although I might be wrong about that. I thought they were overpriced. I thought the Bucks were difficult to come by from what I saw, and I didn't particularly think much of the event. It didn't certainly make me want to go after anything.
I believe this was the event where I got the Santa Hogan gear, which was a joy. I didn't know that I needed it, but when I saw the buffs, I saw people using them, I said, I gotta have it. So I made sure I got that one. They almost tricked me with the Tiffy gear because I had quit on her month, so I'm the only one with not a fully leveled Tiffy, but I didn't fall for the trap and still was able to use her this weekend, and she was still doing fine on top lane, so Tiffy's fine without the gear. Might have been better with the gear, but I don't need it. And all the rest of the gears I wasn't even closely, remotely going after.
Yeah, I wasn't really sold on the Tiffy gear myself. I know it was, quote unquote, only $20. But I felt like she was good enough without it if you're going to counter multiply gems. And she's a good character, but I was not really, swayed to spend more money on another modern acro female. We have so many good ones.
That whole event left, right off the bat, I sour taste in because, and I could have read it wrong, but I swore it said if you had Tiffy, you would get her gear for free. So then they went and charged for that. And, immediately, I mean, I was busy that weekend. It was Christmas week. You know, I'm in the middle of a move and trying to organize all that and get Christmas done and all that. So I really wasn't going to chase Powerhouse Cody gear for a reason of that I have Powerhouses. I don't need his gear. Makes him great, but it wasn't worth the RNG luck of getting it. It wasn't even a prize wall. I did wind up buying the Tiffy gear because I'm a sucker for $20, but that was really it. Did what I could and and the prize wall was really. If you were missing a lot of them, it was great. I had all of them, so there was really nothing. I had bucks left over because there was nothing to spend it on other than dupes and silver hangers that we don't use. So,
yeah, I wasn't really sold on chasing the Cody gear because, like what you're saying, the RNG luck. I think the CM Punk one was very expensive for a character that, in my mind, is way past his prime. And getting +3 on multi-gem strength does not seem like it's going to be enough to make him viable moving forward. With the fact that he still cascades, right? Like, if you're going to go that route with someone that's going to cascade as a modern technician, right, which again is such a finite route, you might as well just go with The Miz because The Miz hits for way harder anyway, and has a moment to justify him hitting that hard. So it seems a little odd to me. I feel like it was a wasted gear. I think they just wanted to have something they can market with CM Punk himself.
Yeah, I mean, when CM Punk came out, he was already past his prime. He wasn't really, to me, he was never really that great, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway.
And yeah, I think a lot of people with that Tiffy thing, myself included, I definitely remember seeing something in game of like the gear is available on the portal if you already have Tiffy, and I think that is where there was like a break in being clear with communication of again, myself included, where a lot of people that had Tiffy already thought like, hey, we're just going to get a gear because we have her. Sweet. Not that we have to purchase it. And to be honest, again, it's a nice gear. It, to me, was not worth money, even $1 at that point. So it is what it is in that scenario. I think the Tiffy gear is probably the second best out of the 3 new ones. Again, I think Punk is probably the worst out of the 3. I think Tiffy is probably the middle ground, so to speak, which isn't bad for $20 when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. And obviously the Powerhouse Cody gear for +5 on all of his starting MP kind of brings back that whole permanent 99 MP thing for him, which he doesn't need it. To Evo's point, he's already really good, but with it, yeah, he could definitely hit really, really hard. But do you really need to have that? Like, if you're going after that, which again, it was only available in loot, then you're probably someone who's going after other things in loot. And if you've probably been going after other things in loot, you most likely already have better powerhouses than needing to get Cody's winter gear to use Cody moving forward. So, kind of an in the air weird dynamic there. I will say I myself ended up getting the Randy Orton gear. I didn't have that one for a long time. I know it seems silly, but I've always liked Striker Randy Orton in this game. I think that he has a spot on my roster moving forward. So I was happy to get that gear. And I think I've seen a lot of people mentioning too that they got the Powerhouse Santa gear. I think Envy was talking about it too. So that was pretty helpful because there were some people that were debating on their, what was it? It was the Yeet prize wall, candy canes. On the candy cane prize wall, they were debating whether they wanted to get the Powerhouse Hogan gear or not. And I think that Santa bonus bucks, whatever thing, if you could find a way to get Powerhouse Hogan gear, was a great alternative to spending as many candy canes as they were requiring for that gear on that candy cane prize wall. So definitely some solid value, I thought, in that regard. But outside of that, it kind of felt like just another run of the mill event. I was happy though. I ended up getting, like I mentioned, the Randy Orton gear, and I ended up getting what is it, Tech Cody gear? I think the new one is called Cozy Roads. I don't know what the Tech one is, but if I ever need to use Tech Cody, I got that one now too. So, I mean, for essentially no investment, I was content walking away with another gear or two, and it didn't need to be the brand new ones, and I was okay with that. Any thoughts on Gears Big Show before we move on?
Yeah, I was a sucker. I bought the Tiffy gear only because it had the 7 poles just for the RNG chance at the new Cody gear. It was nice that they threw the Powerhouse Santa Hogan gear on there since
Yep.
it's so rare and a ton of people don't have it, especially after his buff. I really wasn't. I only did the Tiffy because of the 7 pole. I was like, yeah, let me take a shot at it. But none of them really interested me. It was just kind of like, yeah, I'll go in, do my stuff, and leave. I ended up walking away with the Tech Cody gear, which was a win because I didn't have it. But other than that, for me, it was just kind of bad.
Yeah, it felt like just a pass through event, I guess is probably the best way of saying it.
It felt last minute. It felt like they scrambled with balls not gonna be in there, and it felt, all right, how can we make money quick? And they weren't really great.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You said it. CM Punk's gear was way overpriced for what it does. I'm sure he's some people's best tech, but he's just made, especially after like Shredder and Ilya and Julius.
I mean, if they made that Cody gear 25K prize wall, and I mean that would have enticed people to chase it. But for me, it was just a mess.
Yeah, it feels like it was definitely a bit rushed. And you know what? I kind of expected that once they had to get rid of Boss Battle. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not surprised by it, but it wasn't the worst. Wasn't the
No,
best.
but they had plenty of time to come up with a decent event. It feels like they just threw it together the day before it went live. And wasn't the boss battle announcement like the week before? They said it wasn't going to happen.
I think that was like the start of the month. Actually, I think it was even before that.
No. Yeah, I mean, so they had plenty of time to come up with a decent event.
Yeah.
And it's like they just 5 minutes before it went live, like, oh, here, we'll just do this, and there we go.
Yeah. Talk to me, B-Rock.
So I can speak for several people in my faction. The Santa gear was big, and I think that those people who got the Santa gear, excuse me, not the Santa gear, the Powerhouse Immortal gear, the Santa gear for that, not the Santa Hogan gear. They leveled up their Powerhouse game immensely, and I think that's probably one of the best things of that of that week and what they did, along with the Evo tokens. I think that whole run to bolster your Santa Hogan as well as your Immortal Hogan Powerhouse, I think that was a good play. You know what? I looked at the Cody and I was like, "Ooh, I like this." And then I'm looking at it, and after the first run, I'm like, "Yeah, never mind." And it was just kind of like, I'm not working all that for that.
Yeah.
I think the pricing of it got to the point where it was like, yeah, no, this is Christmas week. You know, you're really not locked into the game for most people. I'm just gonna say most people. I'm gonna say like the average person is really not locked in because you know you got friends, you got family, you got the holidays. nobody's going to really try to grind for all of that time and still come up short. And I'm still upset about the whole Jey Uso thing coming back. I'm beyond annoyed with that.
Oh, the present prize wall coming back?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird one. They had a lot of like prize walls come back. The J one was one, and then the Black Friday one with Uncle Howdy was another, and they had a lot of like bring it back stuff towards this. What was it? This past midweek.
Yep.
It was super weird.
With no notification, because you had an opportunity to get more. You had an opportunity to get more, and I was at 80,000. I was almost at J. And if I would have known that I would have had an opportunity, then I wouldn't have spent everything the first time around.
If they were consistent with it, and you knew, hey, 2 weeks, you know what? I'll just hold this prize wall, and I won't go into the oblivion like everything else. Yeah.
Yep.
It would have been a win.
Hold off on it, and then I would have had J. And I was sitting, and when it popped up, I was furious, because then it was like, oh look, I can actually get this now. And you already know from the last podcast, that was the one I was going for. I marked out for that to get as close as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bad look on them again, and I think they just did this recently with a prize wall that before all these that they brought back randomly, and it's without notice. So it's, if they tell people, hey, 2 weeks we're going to bring it back for midweek or whatever, here's a chance to either save and buy more and spend more, people would have spent more, I think. But when you think you have until that prize wall ends and never get a chance to spend it again, of course you're going to spend your prize wall. It's a lack of consistency on their part as usual.
Yeah, 100% agree. The ironic thing about it all is they probably thought they was doing us a favour in bringing back that double loot chance that a lot of people spent big on as a sort of one-off spend for the people that don't spend very often, and they brought that back as a chance to cash in on that again. But if it just gave you a load of prize for that you've already spent, it was pointless, basically.
It was really weird looking at all that, honestly, because it wasn't just that one. It was a lot of them. Like, they brought back like 2 or 3 of them. I think they even brought back the Santa bonus bucks one for the gears, for the Cody gears. Because I've been busy, obviously, as a lot of TNM knows. And if you're in my server, you probably know that I was away this past week, essentially, with the family over holidays. I was busy. I couldn't even claim my Cody Rhodes Finish the Cookies gear, whatever it was called, right? Like, I was like, dang, I missed it. And more importantly to me, it was like, I missed the Randy Orton gear, dang. And then they brought it back like 2 days later or something. I was like, oh, well, let me just shut up and go ahead and take it. So I was happy for the fact that I could get the gear. But it was very odd. It was very weird seeing all the walls they brought back and all the deals they brought back. I feel like they were trying to kind of to piggyback off what Eva was saying there. I feel like they were trying to squeeze out every last penny that they could in regards to whatever it was before the year ended. Here's the gears, and it's like, well, we did okay on that, but we didn't get enough money, so put it back out there. Let's see if anyone else wants to bite. And Black Friday, oh yeah, that was a good deal. Everyone spent big money on that, so let's go ahead and put that one back out there. Oh yeah, and the Jey Uso one with the presents and all that jazz, yeah, that was good. A lot of people spent big money on that, so go ahead and put that back out there. And it's like, I don't know, man. It just feels like they were trying to throw everything and the kitchen sink at all of us before the year ended to be, at a point that they just try to earn as much as they could. and it just felt weird to me. I didn't really have that as like a major talking point, but it does fit into the whole Christmas gear thing of did you chase anything, and if not, why not? And there's a lot of reasons as to why not. It was just super odd. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to talk about other than that there for the Christmas gears. If anybody else does, for sure, let me know. Otherwise, we can go ahead and move on to the next part of our podcast, which is going to be the bug fixes. So I completely forgot this was a thing because they didn't make a blog post about it. And not many people check the forum on a regular basis, myself included. However, there was a large list of bug fixes, which I'm not going to go through the entire change log, but if you would like to read the log yourself, then please check the information in the YouTube video below. And for those of you that are live listening in to the podcast here, if you follow up to the pinned message, it is the message right underneath it. Thank you, Envy, for finding the link and for posting it. However, the big three changes that have occurred, at least in my mind, and if there's anything else, then hopefully people will chime in here. Number one, for stipulation tours, using a submission move now counts as a turn. So you no longer get to, if there's 7 turns left on a stip tour and you use a sub and it still shows 7 turns and then your opponent goes and then it goes down to 6 turns, that will not be the case. When you use a sub now, after using it, it will end up reducing your turns from 7 to 6. So to me, I know that they kind of just threw that partway through into the bug fixes, but that was definitely a big one in my opinion. That's number one. Number two, which is not relating to this weekend, that is, which we'll get to that one in a minute here. We've corrected tag partner MP charging mechanics. This ensures they receive the appropriate MP after the first superstars breaks the color gems. Previously, they would receive double the MP if 2 moves of the same color were equipped for the tag partner, following the first superstar's action of breaking the color turn gems in their turn. So that's a lot of word mumbo jumbo. Long story short, for those of you that remember in tag matches, if your tag partner had, let's say, 3 green moves, and your first person made a 3 match of green gems, you would get 3 green MP per move for your tag partner. So 3 green moves would mean that you get 3 MP, 3 MP, 3 MP is 9 MP per green move if you just made a 3 swipe of green gems. Or even if you broke 1 gem in a 4 match, right? You broke a row or broke a column, you would get 3 MP per gem broken because you had 3 of those moves. That no longer works that way. You just get the MP that you broke. So if you break 1 gem, you get 1 MP. You break 3 gems, you get 3 MP. There's no more stacking the MP. So that has been fixed. And last but certainly not least here, especially with feud being the thing that we're looking at right now, ending a feud battle early by restarting the application will no longer credit the victory. Players must now complete the feud battle to get credited. Suppose the game is restarted before the superstar victory animation begins. In that case, the match will be regarded as unfought. No points will be granted, no tasks will be credited, and the player's superstar will have their health reduced to 1. So it is simply like being in a match and accidentally, hitting a move or going and fighting somebody and realizing, whoops, they have minus MP or anything along those lines, and then restarting your game instead of just quitting. That always gives you 1 health left. That's what will happen if you force close before the victory animation. So just using Zombie Bailey as an example, right? And you hit the finisher, she does the Bailey to belly. You wait for the referee's 3 count, the loot gems, all that now. You have to wait for all that. You cannot force close and skip that. What will happen is if you do force close and skip it, your character will show up at 1 health. But if you wait for the victory animation after the loot gems go out, that is when you can essentially skip that. But the idea is that if you're going to open it up on a secondary device, that the amount of time it's going to take to do that will be much longer than just simply clicking the skip button and moving to the next fight. Those are your 3 big bug fixes. The list of bug fixes, I believe, is like 40 or 50 points long in this list, which again, I'm not going to read through all of them, but those are the big 3. And I'm really curious as to what everyone is thinking about all of them, not just one of them. We can go in whatever order everyone wants to. We can kind of just run willy-nilly with it. But very curious to what everybody here thinks.
I was kind of bummed with the sub one because I always like sneaking Striker Brett in there for the Stip Tours and come out with a halfway decent finish.
Yeah.
And I'm horrible when it comes to doing Stip Tours, but that one kind of hurt a little bit because none of my promoters for them are up all that high. Feud, I don't know. After looking at last night's, I don't know if they tested it just because of the scores of the top. And
I can definitely confirm the feud thing has changed.
okay. And Showdown, yeah, is what it is. I mean, it was nice being able to charge up your partner on a 3 swipe, but not going to really affect me that much.
Fair enough. Lay it
So
on,
the only one that I even remotely care about is the Showdown one. Because if you do have somebody that you load in, and we all know that there's certain champs you can use to help load the back end of your tag partner to tag in. What's the decision on what move gets the MP?
What do you mean? What move gets the MP?
So right now there's going to be, if you have, I don't know, we'll just put who does 3? We'll put Tech Charlotte as the second character. It's 3 blue moves. So from what I'm understanding, if my first guy hits a move, crushes 3 blue gems, they're only gonna get one of those moves
No.
is gonna get 3
No,
MP, or is it still all 3 are gonna get the 3 MP?
all 3 will get 3, not.
Okay, then never mind.
Yes, all 3 moves will still get the 3 MP each, but the way that it worked before was that all 3 moves would have gotten 9 MP.
I guess I never noticed it before. So then, in other words, then now I don't really care. So yeah, it has none of this has any real effect on me, and I don't think it's gonna have a big effect on most players because most players aren't chasing leaderboard.
That's fair.
So the time, the time crunch with the feud, when you're chasing leaderboard, every couple of seconds counts. And Bob, I've seen you feud, and God help you, because I can't do that. I don't know if it's that I'm old. I don't know, but I just don't have that in me to do what you guys do, especially when it was you and Flo. So I'm never gonna, I may, dust off the kicks every now and again to try to leaderboard a specific feud if I really want to do it. but to micromanage the amount of time in between the animation to go, no, it's not for me.
Yep. And look, that's completely understandable and respectable too. Take it away, Eva.
Well, yeah, I mean, the feud thing, it was a long time coming. It really doesn't affect a lot of players. It affects the ones that really, I don't know. All right, it's way too hard. And then the showdown thing actually kind of, so it took me years to figure that out. And honestly, until Merrick's pointed it out, I didn't realize.
Oh yeah.
It will change things. Especially the higher MP CSS that you need to get a win with. Well, they need to do damage with more so than get a win. You could cheese to getting the wins and stuff like that, but the cards that you want to load and try and win with, and do damage or break certain gems, I mean, that's gonna. I'm curious, like, so if I have Trick Hogan on my, and I swipe 3 and get 5 MP, do they get 5 MP, or is it just P?
No.
So
they will not get 5. They'll still get 3.
Or will it work like multi-gems where it's kind of weird, but if I have Trick Hogan on both cards, will it get 5? So, it's kind of, there's some playing around I got to do with it and some testing for my own part, but to me, it's not a major deal. It's just something that you would think they would try. I understand they put it on the forum, but like you said, who goes on the forum every day unless you really have a complaint? And honestly, even with complaints, forum is kind of a waste of space too. So it kind of, you figure there'd be more of an announcement about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, like, there's definitely other things on this post. Like I mentioned, there's like 40 or 50, points on this post. Like, changing the lineup in Showdown shouldn't cause any more errors. Like, I don't know what that means. Players could match 4 gems 4 times to kick out after using a prop to break some gems while pinned. Like, I've never experienced that. Like, just some of these things are very weird. All freeze gems turned into normal gems when a player's broke a color snowfall gem, which didn't change the color of the gem under it immediately. Like, there's some really weird points that they made on this post, which I'm happy that they are fixing bugs. Please don't get me wrong with saying that. I just feel like the big point ones that'll probably impact some players' gameplay, and I'm not going to say all of them, but some players are those 3. The feud one in particular definitely feels like it's targeted for leaderboards itself. For me, it's been causing a little bit of red ring ever since they implemented this, to where when you're on the winning animation, like your victory pose, whatever you want to call it, of your character, that's where there's a little bit of red ring hang up there. So it's not the end of the world for me, and cool that they fixed the whatever you want to call it, whether it's cheating or exploiting or 2-device usage or whatever it is. Good for them, and I'm happy that they decided to go out of their way to fix it. For me, also, it feels like it's way too many months too late, and there's just nothing really to chase for these days for leaderboards. So
yeah, they watered those down so much that they've kept all in. Anyway,
the incentive feels like it's not worth it. And again, that's me talking from, as B-Rock would call it, that's me talking from the penthouse. And I thankfully am mentally cognizant and aware enough to be able to say that. So I get that that's not going to impact everyone. However, the other 2 parts to me are pretty significant. With the stip tours and submissions, a lot of people, and it wasn't even so much for leaderboard chasing on stip tours as much as it was like getting enough points to 3-starring hell mode. Like, that's tough. 3-starring hell mode in stip tours nowadays is tough. Especially if you don't have, 20k or 30k, what are they, enforcers, I think is what they're called, and a maxed out promoter and the perfect character with the perfect setup, most likely at 6-star or higher because the opponents actually do damage now and they're not 4K talent, 5K talent opponents. Like, it's a lot to try and get through hell mode to 3-star it. Those submission turns would give you that extra turn, so to speak, or 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns, whatever you want to call it. That was enough to help people actually get their currency. And then outside of that, the showdown thing I don't think is really going to hurt people, but I think it's interesting enough to note because that's always been how Showdown MP has worked, and now it is being changed and informed to all of us as a bug, which, to be fair, I don't think it was always intended to work that way. It never made sense to me when I first learned about it that, like, oh, I have 2 blue moves and I matched 3 blue gems. I have 6 blue MP. Like, that doesn't make sense realistically. So for me, yeah, I'm actually kind of happy they changed it so that it does make sense. I'm a little bit, sad and let down that they changed it because, man, I kind of really wish that I could keep getting all that MP for those people, but it's going to be an interesting one, like Evo mentioned, in regards to how are we going to get CSS done, how are we going to get damage per CSS character done, how are we going to get certain CSS wins with our tag matches. It's going to be an interesting little dynamic there. So I'm looking forward to the changes. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I do think that some changes of that caliber should have probably been mentioned in like a blog post or something along the lines somewhere. Like, hey, make sure to check out our forum post. These are the most recent bug fixes we had. Blah, 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 blah. Something like that.
And fix Brutus in the bug fix.
And fix Brutus. Take it away, Envy.
Here's the thing for me. So, I just want to know what the bugs are. Could somebody let me know when the game starts and something goes wrong, or just have a list out there what we're working on? Because I don't know half these things are bugs until they take it away. It's like, oh yeah, that was a bug. Oh really, it was? And then some things never go away. It's like, game's working as intended. And if they just tell us this is a bug, it's probably gonna go away one day, and this is not a bug, it's gonna live forever. Maybe we'd have less problems, less shock when it happens. Like the showdown thing. I mean, not the showdown thing. The stipulation tour thing. I rolled out there with Solo this week. I love you, Solo. And I was running through and I was knocking it out, and I was like, wait a minute, my turns are going really fast here. And then that last turn, he just tapped out, and I had 8 turns of sub to go. I was like, what's going on? So it's just weird how some things happen as intended, speed up the game, and other things, the game stays as slow as possible. And if they just give us a list of this is what we're working on, this is what needs to be fixed, and make sure they have Brutus on that list, I'd be a lot happier.
Well, that's always been this goes all the way back personally to Rocket Sean. Rocket Sean, Sammy, Powerhouse Sammy, he was doing his thing, Drip Gems in general. How things go and they sell items so in this community, if someone posts a video about a card and it's a card, people are going to want that card, and word of mouth goes around, people are going to spend on it. Rocket Sean, they sold for 7 months, 8 months before all of a sudden, oh wait, no, it's never supposed to be like, or the drip plate was never intended to be this strong, blah blah blah. Like you said, tell us, hey, listen, I'm okay with saying, we harp on them for getting all the wrong stuff out there. We had Showboat Naka, I think it is, and Showboat Woods that weren't working forever, and we waited patiently or impatiently to get it fixed. But at least say, hey, listen, we don't know why it's working like this, but we're gonna fix it. So it's not like you go out there and spend hundreds of dollars over months to get this card, and then all of a sudden now it doesn't work the way it was shown.
It's a very interesting. I don't really want to call it a dynamic, but a very interesting take on how they do try to market things. They try to squeeze it for all it's worth, and then it's like, whoops, by the way, didn't really mean for that. It is very odd sometimes to me. I think the word that a lot of people have used, I think yourself included, Evo, was predatory in some natures. It's just so awkward in some of those aspects. Bunders, I don't think that I've heard from you in regards to these things, these items.
No, I haven't said anything yet. I'll be honest, I didn't read the bug report when it came out, and I didn't really notice any difference in game until this feud, when I did notice the pause at the end. If you were last to finish your line, there's a bit of a longer pause than there was in ending the feud, but outside that, I didn't really notice too much. Although I did know about the showdown charging your partner thing, it's not really something I've ever targeted as much. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, Bob, but you haven't taught me properly. But yeah, it's not really something I targeted that much. So I didn't notice too much of a difference in game. And the Stip Tour, I'm probably a little bit embarrassed to say, but I barely ever play Stips. I should play them way more. I played them a lot when you got the substantial amount of coins when they did that event. Was that Black Friday week?
The zombies.
Yeah, the zombie. But yeah, that's it. The zombie one. That was really good, and they should just go back to doing that because that was outstanding, and it gave you the desired rewards. And outside that, I haven't played Stip Tour anywhere near as much as what I should. I probably do maybe 1 or 2 a week at best, and so I expected this change to come, but it's not something I'd noticed because I don't think I've played it since they made the change.
Yeah.
So I don't have too much to say on it, apart from the fact that I don't think any of them are really game changing, and maybe they should be looking at bugs that could be like jumping on Evo's horse and fixing Brutus. That would at least make him happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really odd. I mean, I think that, and maybe this is just me thinking about it. I think these bug fixes are helpful to some in regards to an understanding of how the game should be played. I think that a lot of folks probably won't really notice the majority of them. I don't think enough people play stipulation tours to feel like they're gonna get screwed over. I know Envy mentioned that he was using solo and he did experience the no sub portion of it, and it's not even a no sub thing as much as it is like you can still use subs, but now it takes a turn away. The feud thing again, like we were talking about, really only feels like it's targeted for the feud leaderboard chasers. And there's no real reason for anyone else to experience anything different, which I think is probably a good thing in that regard. That it, maybe if it's a tick longer or whatever you want to call it, if that's really the only change that people notice, then they did it pretty seamlessly, and that's a good thing, at least to me. And outside of all that, the showdown aspect, the showdown's an oddball. Because Showdown used to actually feel like real tag matches. Showdown was like, well, you get no MP, you gotta work to get your MP up, and maybe you could set up the board to tag in your partner so that they can come in and absolutely crush the opponent. There was a lot of like dynamic to Showdowns where it's really non-existent nowadays. And that's just, to me, that's just sad. Because Showdown used to be good. It used to be solid. It used to feel like it was actual tag team wrestling. And now, with all the characters that they're coming out with that have 1 MP, or their highest MP charge for a Showdown moveset is 4 MP, and they have all these double MP trainers, and Santa, and tag links that can give you starting MP, or gears or moments. Like, there's so much to circumvent the idea of actually needing to have a tag match, where instead of it being a tag match, it's like, well, this is my starting character and that's who I'm going to use for showdown, period. And it's like, well, where's the showdown? Where's the tag? Where's the 2-on-2? It's literally 1-on-1. And because of that, I don't think most people will notice the change there. It used to be huge. It used to be a massive win if you could go and charge up your tag partner's moveset by breaking, a third of the needed gems. If you had someone with a 10 MP finisher and you had 3 of the same color moves and all you had to do was break 4 gems of that color, it's like, this is great. Especially, and I know that not a lot of people even remember they exist, but especially with the new tag characters that we have for like the PG era stuff, like Dolph Ziggler and Wade Barrett and all of them that have the 1 MP move that gives you a choose move and then the tag out move. You literally can charge up your partner with a 4 swipe or 2 3 swipes or a 5 match, whatever you want to call it, tag out to them, and then they're fully loaded. And now that's no longer the case. And to be honest, it's not needed because of where we're at in Showdown, so most people don't really experience it. But for me, that was honestly some of the most fun in the game, was kind of using, character A to set up character B with just one of the craziest boards possible. Like, what I used to do just to see absolutely insano crazy damage was use Zombie Rey Mysterio with Kevin Owens. And I would use Powerhouse Kevin Owens to set up the board with trap gems that made red gems and trap gems that boosted gem damage. And now I get to bring out my Zombie Rey Mysterio with 2 rows of like times 20 multi gems, and he's got all these trap gems that make crazy red gems and give him damage boosts. Like, I used to hit billions of damage with Zombie Rey Mysterio over, a year ago, just because it was fun to mess around with in Showdown. But that won't really exist anymore with this change. And obviously, most people in the game are playing the game for efficiency. They're trying to get done with it. They're trying to finish their feud battles as quick as possible, trying to get all their Showdown energy run through as quick as possible. And that's kind of I don't want to call it the aura, but the environment of the game nowadays is get done with it ASAP, get done with it quick, move through it, get to the next thing. Like, that's it, period. And I don't know, man, maybe I'm a weirdo because I used to play this game when 3-star silver and 3-star gold were the top metas and the top rarities. But sometimes I really do enjoy to just kind of, to take a walk and smell the flowers. I really enjoy actually looking around in the game and seeing what I can mess around with. I think that's also, why Evo and I get along so well, is because we have a way of looking at the game outside of the box of seeing what you can make fun, instead of just, well, here's your new character, you click these 2 buttons, you win, you move on to the next thing. And Showdown for me, especially the old format of Showdown, was very much like that. But what are you going to do? New bug fixes, no more crazy MP amounts. It's all gone. Anything else about the bug fixes?
I think just on your last comment, Bob, what I would say is that is, like, what you're saying is what our content creators are telling us. So, like, do max damage in as little time as possible. Like 2-click. They're the buzzwords, aren't they? That's what all of the content creators since I've been playing the game have told me is the goal. So that's what people are doing, because like, that's where people go to learn, is your YouTubes and your Twitches of this world. And if that's what is being shown as the way to play the game, then that's what everyone will do.
I mean, that is very accurate, and I'm not going to obviously besmirch anybody or anything like that. But I do agree with you there, Bunders, that that is definitely what is getting pushed very frequently nowadays. That this is the quickest way you can get in and out of your match. This is done in just a minute or less. Like there's a lot of that experience and gameplay. And I don't know, man. Again, maybe I'm a weirdo because I used to play back in 3-star days where we didn't even have trainers. Like, people forget that we didn't have MP trainers at all. We just didn't even have trainers. The characters existed, but they didn't even have trainers on them. And even if they did, you literally had a singular trainer slot or 2 trainer slots before coaches, right? Like, there was a lot of things that this game has implemented to. And don't get me wrong, obviously, I'm happy we're at where we're at. I'm happy that straps exist and gears exist and moments exist and all that type of stuff. But being an old head on this game, it just brings me back to the fun times that I remember what it was like trying to chase 2 blue matches or 2 red matches for my Showboat Andre, and I felt like a king when I got my second red match. Like I remember that, and that was fun. And I get it that maybe it's not the most fun experience nowadays when you have so many characters that can just be like, and button click win. I get it, but it doesn't mean that that's impossible to play. I mean, it's just it's a different experience nowadays.
I mean, I think the game has pushed it to a level where it's dumbed down in a sense, and like you said, it's fun sometimes to take it back and make it a challenge when there are no challenges really. So I mean, taking away that I guess could hurt it a little bit, but then again, for me, it just adds to the challenge personally. So I mean, Showdown right now for me is probably the best game mode because of how friendly it is, kind of in a sense, where you don't really need, other than CSS obviously, but you don't need to be specific stuff. You can just go do what you want to get a lot of the tasks done. So it's they shifted more from CSS to breaking black gems or breaking this gem or that gem, and doing that. So I kind of like that part of it, where it's not so you have to do this, and so I will miss that part of it a little bit because it does make it harder. I mean, going low to 13 charge move now is going to be interesting, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I do believe that to comment on your earlier point, Eva, by breaking a multiply gem, it should still count as breaking that many gems. So it should still charge your MP. Like if you break a times 5, it should it should charge your MP on your tag partner by 5 instead of just 1. So there's still going to be workarounds to it, and I think that'll still be part of the fun. B-Rock, hit me. What's up?
I sort of agree with you. At the same time, it you used to chase leaderboards all the time,
Yes, it's
and
very
now
true.
you value your time more so than the time you spend with the game. So I think when the CCs, content creators, everybody else is doing this, they are trying to give those people who can't spend, you know, 18 hours to feud in a voice chat where you hear certain people start to fall asleep and we don't have that anymore, because now it's like, you know what, let's get this 10-hour feud done in 6. And I think people are starting to value personal time more so than the high end, because you yourself, you don't chase leaderboards, you don't value spending that amount of time. Perfect. Another example is when we just had those 2 days of 18-hour feuds. Everybody was like, what the hell is this? I
Mm-hmm.
don't have 18 hours to feud. So I think there has to be a balance between the two, and the balance needs to be, is like, okay, what are you going to value, your score overall, or hey, I want to chase leaderboard, so I'm going to be up for 16 to 18 hours so I can feud to be in the top whatever. And for me, I need my 100 million and I'm done.
Yep. So like that's the thing, I guess. And maybe you're right. It's like the luxury of the time, so to speak. For me, I've hit a point where maybe I just don't. I don't know, man. Maybe I don't comprehend why, if you're playing this game and you are chasing that 100 mil, let's say, do you really need to get that 100 mil 20 minutes faster than what you would have gotten it in? Like, do you really need to go from 10 hours to 9 hours and 40 minutes because you used X character, Y character, Z character, A, B, C? Like, is it really that much of a difference compared to using the characters that you like to use because they're fun to use instead of the efficient ones if you're already going to be committing that much time but not chasing leaderboards? And maybe that's my skewed outlook, and I get it. Everybody's time is extremely valuable, and trust me, I more than a lot of folks understand the value of time. But I've hit a point where it's like, if you're going to be enjoying your weekend anyway, if you're going to be spending your weekend hanging out in voice chat, like you said anyway, with the boys, with the faction, with the group, with whoever, isn't the whole point of it to enjoy what you're doing instead of try to rush through it? That's kind of the way that I'm viewing it. Because if you rush through it and you just hit a point where you're like, I'm done and I'm just gonna leave and walk out, then there's no fun to the game at that point. You're not using the characters that you want to use, or the skill plates that you spent so much money going after, or the gears that you grinded for, or the moments that you invested so many people up to 6 stars so that you can use this moment in this one game mode to get a huge win for it. It just feels like you're almost defeating yourself on the purposes that you gave yourself when you were chasing those things forever ago. And so that's just where the fun kind of gets siphoned out of it instead of being put into it. And maybe that is the luxury of time, so to speak. But I would rather, especially at this point, have fun playing my game instead of like, well, here's the most efficient thing that I can do for 6 hours straight instead of 8 hours or 10 hours straight because I hate this game and I don't want to play this game. It's like, well, if that's the case, then why play in the first place, right? Like, just have fun. Have fun playing the game.
I'm going to give you, for instance, right now. Like, I'm playing Feud as we're talking.
Yeah.
And I've never used the card before. I wasn't playing when she came out. But Maurice, I saw a lot of posts about, oh my God, she's crap. How are we going to use it? I even seen videos put out like, it's not great, but you can use this and try and get by.
Mm-hmm.
But she's actually pretty good. So I put a Judgment Day plate on her, and whatever that break blue, get yellow plate is, make her work. And it's actually fun. It's against golds at silver. It's taken them like 2-3 times, but it's actually fun not knowing I'm going to go in and click 2 buttons and win. It's actually fun getting through that process and saying, oh, wow, I just got a 6-star gold showboat with a 6-star silver that everyone says is crap. So for me, I do like finding the little challenges in it.
Well, I'm gonna poke the bear here real quick. And Evo, you're my dog. And I appreciate you. But for the rest of us, how many of us have Judgment Day, please?
That's also true. JD plate isn't the most common thing.
At this point, I think a lot more than you might get credit for, because they are pouring. If you try, they pour plates out. Showdown weekend for Naya, horrible weekend for the card itself. But that loot, if you took a chance at it a little bit here and there is a secondary loot that pours out plates. I know I spend more than the average person, so it's hard for me to judge on what other people are getting. But they've been a lot more friendly and a lot more open with plates in general, to where even on the random, even the feud tests as you go along have been pouring out plates. So I mean, I think is it super? And now we have, if you really want to spend on it, but you have more opportunities to change your strap up with the strap up pass, all the bits and the strapped parts and the actual ability to buy more what do they call that, change currency. Whether if you're up for that, I understand it's a different level of game and not there with the riffraff, I guess, but it's there, and that's the fun part. I spend all this money, I want to have fun. Well, I'm not going to spend money on something I'm going to be, all right, let me go click this button, and brainless about it. This is what interests me. This is why I like some of the harder to work with cards. That's why I get all the straps and the parts and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, that's I guess the full circle here to me is, why would I want to play a game that I'm miserable playing? And that seems to be a very consistent outlook. And so I guess again, maybe this is to B-Rock's point, maybe this is the penthouse talking inside of me, right? That I like to try and create a little mini game inside of my own game to have some fun by bringing it back to the old school. I don't know, but that to me is part of the fun of it. Is trying to remember where we all came from, right? Of how Undisputed Future Seth was one of the best characters in the game because he had two choose moves, right? Like, just some of those old things in the game were so fun compared to where we've come now at this point in the game. It's a very vastly different experience from where we were to where we are.
You remember how much of an auto win Showboat Andre was, but the backlash you got for using him because it took 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Took forever in feud, and I'll say this: I'm prior to Seth, I'm talking ABA Taker was the best in the game, but we're not even going there. What I'm just saying is like, you and I, I'm only using Evo as an example, but we could have the same card. We could have the same person. We have Maurice. We'll use her as an example. You have all the bells and whistles. You have the perfect trainers. Like if you look at her, she needs what she needs, Striker Brawn, for a lot of her movesets. A lot of the people are just now getting Striker Brawn in those those middle faction tier groups. A lot of people are just getting people that will say the higher end factions have had for months, possibly years. I know Evo somebody else brought up, it might have been you, Evo, or it might have been somebody else brought up Striker Sean. I still don't have Striker Sean. I still don't have him. And I've been playing this game for, is it 8 years now?
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. I get what you're saying, but if you look at your roster too, Bob, what is your Sean? He's probably 6-star what?
Rocker is 6 bronze.
6 bronze.
Yes.
You have 6 bronze, and you probably have most of the bells and whistles to make him go.
Yes.
Where then, if you really look at it, he still, for some unknown reason, is somewhat of a rare card to get, and the average person doesn't even have him. So for some of these people that we have to use, and I think this is where that 1 and 2 click part comes from. I still need to score for my faction, and yes, I might have to use, I don't know, we'll Striker Naomi 30 times, which is 2 clicks, but it's 2 clicks, it's a win. It gets me what I want, gets me my scores, because I can't make Maurice work at 6-star bronze against the 6-star bronze.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a weird disparity. there's really no perfect answer to it, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. I think at this point, the game, what's left with it, and I think we were talking about this a few podcasts ago, I really don't think there is an average anymore. I really don't think there's a middle ground anymore. I feel like there's what you mentioned, B-Rock. There's the penthouse, and then there's the everybody else. I don't think there is a middle class. I don't think there is a middle ground. And that's kind of the problem to me with a lot for this game, that there is no middle player.
I don't know about that. I definitely think there is. It's funny you should say exactly what you just said, B-Rock, because as you said that, I just finished my 6-star bronze Maurice match against a 6-star bronze Maurice and won it easily, and I haven't got any medals on her. I've got a 40% strap. So you can get it to work. You just got to think about what movesets you want to use and put the time in beforehand to prep on it, to know what you're going to use, to then go into feud and use it. So I do think there definitely is a middle ground. As someone who's only been playing now for 7 months, or 8 months, whatever it is, I wouldn't be anywhere if I didn't think there was a middle ground, because I don't spend what Evo or Bob spends, but I still play at a reasonably high level.
So the reason why I use that as an example is you just and Butters is for you. You just went 6-star bronze Maurice versus 6-star bronze Maurice. But if you heard what Evo said, he defeated a gold.
Oh yeah, no, I heard him, but it was just that.
So that's
exactly
the difference. That's the difference. He has all the bells and whistles to make that card work to its full capabilities. And I'm not shooting him down in any way, because the more and more I'm on this podcast, the more and more Evo is becoming my hero. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, I had a Judgment Day plate. I know I had Braun on there. I probably had this, and this, and my strap was only, and I'm making poking a little fun here at Evo, but he's like, my strap was only 150%, move damage or something along those lines. Where he's like, yeah, I just have this stuff lying around. Again, penthouse compared to everybody else. Now, I will say this, Bob, I do believe there's an average, but it's not as defined as it used to be, because previously you had your top factions, and majority of your top factions had the top players. Now you have a lot of top players who have sprinkled themselves into other factions, and that's where it's kind of blurred the lines. You have let's look at it. You had Grim and Execution. You had everybody kind of top players rotated between like 3 factions. And then it was like, okay, now you're in this middle tier. Now you have some people sprinkled out amongst maybe the top 12, 13. My faction, we're top 40. Okay. We play within our realm. Those people don't necessarily have everything that some of you all have, and I think that's, and Bunders, you are in, and you were lucky enough, and I don't know how it worked, because I never got a personal invite from Bob to join TNM. But Bunders, however, you made that deal and sold your soul to the devil or whatever else you did.
Man.
Wow.
For you to get yourself into that group. No, but I'm kidding. But you got the benefit over the last 7 months of stuff that average players didn't. And I don't know how long you've been there, but I'm just saying you've gotten the benefit of that, because those top factions get a lot of loot.
No,
Get a lot of resources.
Yeah, you're right. I've and it's not even about that either. It's not even about where they place or what they get. But to get to speak to the likes of Evo and Bob on a nightly basis and discuss how they're running cards and what they're doing, and there was a past, not that long ago, about Triple H Skull King, and I'd never used him before because I didn't have any zombies. It was my first zombie month. Bob showed me how to use and manipulate the board to actually make him a pretty decent card, in all honesty, when most people will think he's royal trash. And that's more of the benefit that I've got from being in TNM, rather than the loot and the things that we get in terms of where we place, because it would have helped a little bit, but it isn't that great. And I came from a faction that used to rank about between 60th and 90th in events. So I'm aware of what that difference is and how much of a difference it makes to you.
Yeah, it's so I guess, we kind of sidetracked from the bugs and whatnot, but I do have an interesting question to pose. So, B-Rock, in regards to what you were mentioning with Rocker Sean, right? You were saying that you still don't have him, right? So, Rocker is, and when I look on the portal, it actually shows you, and this is a cool little handy tool that they have on the portal. When you click on a character, it tells you what the all-time talent of a character is. Rocker Sean is resting at about 45 million talent across the game. So that's about how many people, like how much talent people have put into a character. And even if you wanted to assume that everyone's rocker is 6-star gold, which obviously mine is not, but let's just assume everybody's 6-star gold max for that sake, right? Which is approximately 39,000. You're talking about a good chunk of rocker Sean's out there, right? You're looking at about over 1,200 rockers in the game if everybody's was at the absolute penultimate max, right? And there's what, 40,000 players that play this game. So let's assume that that's the case. Let's assume that everybody's is gold, and that there's 40,000 players in the game. Let's just assume that those are our lines. We go from Rocker Sean over to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, striker that is, has 200, let's just round it up, 211 million roster talent across the game. That's 5,400 Cody Rhodes compared to about 1,200 Rocker Sean's. Would you consider either of those average characters to get with that many people owning them? Or does it need to be like above that? Does it need to be where 10 or 20,000 people own those characters? Or same thing for skill plates, right? Like, how many accounts need to have a skill plate for it to become average? That's I guess what I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around, because I don't feel like that exists in this game. Like, for example, somebody in this server, I think it was Clado is who it was, posted a picture of him getting, I think it was Jey Uso. And it was like, this guy hasn't ever spent on the game in his life, and then on his first mega hits Jey Uso. Like, oh wow, that's crazy, right? There is, I don't know, man, maybe to me it's different. I just don't understand what the average would be. Like, does the average player have Rocker? Does the average player have Jey Uso? Well, we all know the average player doesn't have Jey Uso, but this guy who doesn't spend other than once on the game does have Jey Uso. So what constitutes as like average versus not average is what I'm trying to get at. That's, I guess, where my disconnect is at when it comes to that.
So I'm gonna say for me, and this is my my definition of average is the average person has accessibility to the card. So average is probably going to be your, I want to say, A tier cards. If we're going to go by tiers, they're going to be something not necessarily given away for free, but you have the accessibility to get it. It can be over time. And I think what's almost the perfect example would be Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is not an average card by rating, like by what he does, his damage, all that. But the game made him really accessible to the average player. They had him in prize wall for shards. They had him, the average player had a really good had a really good chance of getting him just by working through. I'm not talking about the first weekend. I'm not even talking the first month. I'm talking if you wanted if you wanted Jacob Fatu, you could have gotten Jacob Fatu after 3 months.
Yeah, from hitting a lot of the prize walls, for sure.
Right. So it was accessible. Now, we can use Rocker Sean. I know he's not used right now, but how long has he been in the game?
Yeah, for sure. You're
4
talking
years?
about a couple of years now, easily.
We'll say 4 years. And
Yeah,
look at the
maybe.
number. If you look at the number, you said 40 million. Okay, 40 million is the number for over 4 years, comparable to, I don't know if you can do it again, but if you look at, and I just want to use him, look at Jacob Fatu. See how many people have him.
So
So it's more about
Jacob Fatu is at
access.
197 million.
So now you see what I'm saying. Like, shorter amount of time, more people probably have him, and he was more accessible. There's a ton of players in here, and I'm not talking people who have been retired out of the game, but there's a ton of people that are rare that have been in this game for 5 years,
Yeah, I mean,
6 years.
if you're looking for rare characters before they made her available on the club store, Pyro Bliss was one of the lowest talents in the game. She was at like 1.9 million, and she, apart from like her release month and that rarity, which she was good, she was never really great after that. And only because of the addition of the club store on the portal did her numbers kind of skyrocket. Now from 1.9 they're at 26.9. But even that, to your point, right, is pretty much half of what Rocker Sean is, and she isn't
Correct.
even half as good.
But now if she become and just recently she was a CSS for a
Yep.
bunch of stuff. So it's like, okay, here's where the average, the average player, that middle tier player, not top tier, not bottom tier, we'll just say that middle tier player would never have the ability to access anything that she would be able to provide. So that's where I get when I say average. That middle group where if you wanted a card, poster, whatever you want to call it, the accessibility to get that card without having to spend, $3,000 a month.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the $3,000 a month section is kind of limited to OTC and Nia Jax, but I get what you're saying.
No, but you get it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I think we had a great dialogue here in regards to just talking about the game, and lo and behold, the bug fix point actually resulted in a lot of conversation there. But I guess anything else in regards to the bug fixes themselves, or our talks of what the game looks like nowadays before we go on to the weekend contest that we had recently. Envy, I saw you unmuted. Do you have anything for me, brother?
Oh, but the only thing I was gonna say is the difference between Rocket Sean and Jacob Fatu is the game's changed a lot on how they roll cards out. So back when Rocket Sean was coming out, they didn't have a month long where they give you a bunch of cards for somebody, and then the next month they followed up and put them on the prize wall and all that stuff. That's been new and made the game easier to get cards these days. So it's a lot easier to get new cards now than it was in the past, and the old cards they don't seem to want to give you out anymore.
Yeah, it does feel very weird. You're kind of handcuffed to when they decide to make things available, um, instead of them just being available. It's a little odd, but I do feel like characters are easier to come by nowadays compared to what they used to be, which was you get one event and you're one and done. And I know that he's probably fairly common on a lot of players' rosters nowadays. But you can take Johnny Gargano as an example. Like Johnny Gargano weekend was horrible. You needed him to play the tours. You needed him to play the weekend event. You literally needed him for everything possible, and you couldn't get him unless you pulled him, essentially.
And he's doo-doo.
And he's not very good. So yeah, it's a weird dynamic for sure.
And I just to comment more on a little bit more on the Rocket Sean, because as Bob knows, it's one of the sorest points about me and my WWE Champions history with that whole weekend and how that went down. That number that you have that of people that have him is really inflated too, with all the screw ups that weekend and all the extras they gave out that weekend. Funnily enough, a lot more people have him. Really should, to be honest. From that.
Yeah, The Scopely screw ups are abundant, and we can't do anything about them. That's how I'm leaving that one.
Yeah, that was one weekend where it felt like it was like, you know what? I'm just gonna shovel more fire into the fire, see if that fire goes out, and it didn't. It kept growing.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as bad as Earthquake Gear month.
Fair.
But it was up there. But yeah, I think that'll be it for our bug fixes, comments, and conversations there. We can, however, move forward to the Queen of the Ring showdown, the introduction of Queen Nia Jax, and boy does it hurt even just saying that. Queen Nia has made her way to the game, and yeah. We had a female showdown. We got a brand new skill plate, the Valkyrie's Crest skill plate, which is very similar, I'm sure, as most of you know, to the Bubba Specs, is what I always relate it back to. Except instead of purple, it is red. So every time that you use a red move, you get red gem damage, 50% to be precise. So it's a pretty solid plate. There's actually a lot of characters out there that can use that skill plate. Nia herself is I think she's an S plus tier rather. Yeah, she's an S plus tier character. In regards to the game, even though she's only a 3,000 shard recruit, I don't think she has that great of a trainer or coach, if I remember. I think it's just plus random MP and then gem damage. Oh no, she's
it's 30% red gem damage and plus 3 red MP.
Yeah, 30% red gem
red generate
and 3 red generate as a coach. Yes. So not the worst in the world there. It's okay, I guess, for me, but does not seem to really move the needle. Outside of that, there was the prize wall, which Evo had briefly mentioned, which had a lot of shards on it. Again, to B-Rock's point, and in most of my prize wall videos, if they are available, you should almost always get them. They had Jacob Fatu shards. Naomi shards were on there as well. Trickster Trish shards and Mercy the Buzzard shards. A lot of good shards on there. There was also the Will of Cargill skill plate, and the Yeet skill plate was on the wall too, as well as the new Valkyrie's Crest being on the wall. so a lot on the prize wall as well. Nia Jax was, I should say, exclusive in loot, and then her shards were on the portal bonus reward tab milestones. That's a mouthful. Sorry. Wanted to make sure I said that properly. It was female showdown. When you got to the very top league, you had to use a showboat in the front spot for defense. And to allude to what Evo had mentioned earlier on, there are the tasks for breaking gems and dealing damage. So red gems and black gems were this go around, which wasn't too difficult. Striker character, legend character, SmackDown character, and damage control characters were the damage output, which again, not too difficult this time around. The CSS, I remember a lot of people were very upset with because it did include Nia herself, and it included Lyra Valkyria, who only came out this month. Also had S plus tier Trish in it, and Striker Naomi, Tiffy as well. So a lot of very tough CSS in regards to the weekend. And not to forget, there was a limited time tour for the Any Judgment Day challenge, but you had to have the brand new JD McDonough for the Judgment Day in order to get the CSS, which in Hell mode, the CSS reward was a brand new perk turnbuckle that gave 99 MP to all of your characters that you used in the showdown, not just this month's character for Lyra and last month's character for Abby the Witch, since those are the only two females with 99 MP currently. So a lot to talk about with the showdown, the format, the female, the 99 MP perk, the new skill play, Nia herself, the way that she's being released as OTC, thoughts on the CSS structure, if you thought it was tough or not. Prize wall was pretty solid. If you wanted to pick up some new skill plates again, or shards if you're missing those characters, a lot to talk about for Queen of the Ring showdown.
You can go if you like. I like the fact it was a female. I think there needs to be more female events, or at least an even share of female events in the game. So I do like that. Hate the Queen Nia release. I don't think there's probably any player out there that actually likes the zero sharp releases, and RNG of getting it in pools is the only way you can go about it, and then to add it as CSS is a bit of a piss take, in all honesty. I thought the CSS was particularly difficult, considering there aren't that many females in the game. I think I'm only missing 4 or 5, and I don't think I had 4 of the CSS in this actual in this feud. So it was a bit frustrating, but I knew due to time constraints and things like that, I was only going to be able to get to a certain level, and I did hit that level just about. So I can't have too many complaints. I can't remember what I took from the prize, although. Sorry.
Was that the event we had to use Blaze to?
Yeah.
Alundra?
Alundra
Yeah.
Blaze. New gen female, right?
That
the
was
one?
That was for the feud. That was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm still having flashback to that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, showdown was showdown. The no shot release sucked as always. I made the great mistake of misreading the leaderboard myself. Made many mistakes that week. The prize wall was good for people. Again, if you're missing cards and whatnot, pretty shards of cards. All you gotta do is really play and get it done as best you can. The new plate, I mean, maybe this is the penthouse talking, but the 50% really, I don't know. They're giving out 150 straps. And I don't know if 50% is really gonna make or break a card. It's just more. I don't think it makes a card a winner as opposed to not. It does add damage. It's nice, but nothing that was crazy. The second chance at a yeet plate was probably more beneficial to a lot of players.
I was shocked that they made the heat plate available, let alone cheaper than the Valkyrie's crest itself. Very impressed with that.
They almost suckered me in with the Yeek plate. I wanted to go after it, but I couldn't. This not gonna happen anymore. But it was an easy showdown to do, at least to get to the normal rewards, and I feel good about that. But the prize wall wasn't too enticing for what I could get off of it for free. So it was good to do. It was easy in and out, but nothing special. Bring back those howdy shards.
They did. They're in this weekend.
I'm about in Showdown. In Showdown. Bring back in Showdown. Bring back every day.
Bring it
Till I
back
get 'em.
every day. I like it. Big Show, thoughts on Showdown?
I enjoyed the event. You know, having that extra turnbuckle that gave everybody 99 MP was pretty big for everybody. Put it on a level playing field, except, you know, prize wall was really good. You know, the chance at another Yeet plate. The CSS was rough, though. Was really rough for the masses. But I mean, if you played, you were walking away with something halfway decent, whether it was shards for somebody you didn't have or another skill plate.
Yeah,
Can you go back to that? What is that? There was a turnbuckle that gave 99 MP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you had JD McDonough and did the Judgment Day Hell Mode tour, the reward was one Showdown turnbuckle, and that was to unlock a Showdown perk for 99 MP.
Totally. I had JD McDonough. I totally missed that. I had no idea.
I mean, the best part was you could put it anywhere in the showdown slots. So you could have taken away your 2x speed. You could have taken away whatever other perk you had just to have it, and it made life easy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that would have been great. Damn.
Yeah, for myself, again, kind of alluding to the fact that I was busy with holiday time and with family time, it made my Showdown experience drastically easier. That being said, again, not everybody has JD, especially at this point in the month. But for the players that do, it definitely made the experience way easier. For myself to be able to be able to know that Showdown is the one game mode that you can set your moves up in an order, and you know that the computer will use them in the order you set them up in, is phenomenal. I wish that was the case in every single game mode, for tours, for Showdown, for feud defense, for blitz, for all that type of stuff. It's not, unfortunately. I wish it was. But for Showdown to say, okay, I have 99 MP, I can put character ABC in there, and their moves are lined up 3, 2, 1, and they're going to use 3 and then 2 and then 1 if they need to. Great. And for it wasn't even to get things done quickly because I'm chasing leaderboards, as much as it was, I don't really have time to play the game right now. I would like to get my game done with quickly so I can go back to enjoying my family time. That's what really happened for me this past weekend, which I think is a good option for players that don't want to feel the need to have to play the game 24/7, but it's also kind of like, it's kind of odd that you can just set it and forget it for 10 minutes at most, and then you're done for 8 hours of playing the game, which that's more along the lines of Showdown and energy complaints and all that, and that's nothing new. But yeah, to be able to say, you know, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, the indie that I'm using, right? Hey, here's my indie. She's going to put out multi-gems. She's going to hit her finisher. you're going to hit 100 or 200 million, whatever it is, depending on what opponent you're fighting, and you're going to win and move on to the next one. Like, that was a great experience for me personally. And I can only imagine what Showdown was like for people that did not have JD with the 99 MP perk, because that does not sound very fun. There's no point at that point to have a -6 MP if all of the opponents that you fight against are going to have 99, 99, 99, 99. That does not sound like a very fun experience.
It actually explains so much, because I had questions when I was playing why certain people were loaded, and I set up my card to counter a lot of people. That actually explains a lot there. I'm actually going to be the oddball here and say I don't like it. It's part of the Showdown thing for me is setting up a decent defense that actually can get a few wins here and there. And with 99 MP, you can't. They go first, and you just lose. So for me, I think I don't like that for Showdown. It kind of takes away what I like about Showdown, for me personally. I can see where it does save time, and obviously with 99 MP cards, you could just set them up, hit a butt auto, watch it happen. I did it with Lyra myself. It was, you just start and go. And if you don't have time, it's great for that part of it, but like I said, for me, it takes away a lot from the game mode itself that I like.
Absolutely.
So, before I give my take here, Bob, welcome to the single family homes. That was a single family home thought right there. That was right there in the middle. That wasn't penthouse. That was right there in the middle. I'm going to say this. I was fortunate to get JD. So I was a huge fan of that. Now, if that's something, and if Scopely's listening, if that's something that you're going to do for a couple of months in a row, now you may have people spend a little more in the beginning to get the card, knowing that the 99 might be part of Showdown. Hint, hint. If you're listening, that's a selling point. So I will say that it did make Showdown faster, quicker. You know, you just went through. You were able to do what you needed to do, and you were able to score, and you didn't have to spend 2 hours in Showdown. You can get your Showdown done in 45 minutes.
But I think this goes back to the point of what we were just talking about before. If your end goal is to get in and get out in 20 minutes, why are you playing? I'm gonna argue devil's advocate here, and be like, so if it's that unenjoyable, that your whole goal is to get in, get out, what are we doing?
Well, it's not that it's unenjoyable. It's just that you got to remember, the time of year it is, and more often than now, you have more commitments than you normally would do. So you know, I'll share this. My faction, in my faction, we have a guy who monitors, who hits minimums, who didn't. I missed a minimum, which I never do, but I missed a minimum because I was so preoccupied with other stuff. I'm
On
just gonna
that
say I have a
aspect,
large
as a
family.
holiday thing, I could see your point there. As a regular thing, I would hate it personally. As
Right.
seeing it
But
something good.
I'm only speaking about where we are right now, because this was the first time I think we've had this, and I think that this was something that was really cool, because you were able to go ahead and do these things and then still have time for what you needed to. Now, if they want to do it again this month, we'll see. But under or next MLC, we'll see. But I just think that it was a great perk for the environment and atmosphere we were in.
So, like I mentioned, for me personally, I enjoyed it this time around because I was busy, because I was spending time with the family, because I had to make a 3.5 hour trip up the coast, to go and spend time with the fam for the holidays, and we went up to Disney and had a blast and all this type of stuff. It was great to be able to set it and forget it for my personal experience. I do, however, understand where Evo's coming from too, that it's like, why is that good or beneficial for the long-term health of the game? And I feel like it may not be the greatest thing in terms of getting player engagement, but it's only for 20 minutes. And I don't think that's the way to go about it. Now, with all that being said, and I think this is something that Bunders was actually talking to me about before the podcast went live and before we started recording. Does anybody think that this introduction of a 99 MP perk means that there is a likelihood 99 MP is going away? Like, we have 99 MP right now on JD, on R-Truth, on Lyra, on Naya. Does anyone think that the perk, the introduction of the perk, means that the new characters will no longer have 99 MP, but instead there's going to be something or some tour or, you know, like this one, for example, you needed JD McDonough during his month, during, you know, the weekend of, in order to get access to the perk. Do you think that there's going to be some type of trend moving forward where 99 goes away?
I think that would be awful. If that was something that were to come about for, and I'm only gonna say this, for the average player who is just getting, you know, that you get the one free card that you're building up, and right now, you know, 99 MP helps R-Truth so much for the people who don't have JD, don't have Jay, don't have Naya, don't have Lyra, they don't have anybody else, only have R-Truth at the moment.
Yep.
And to get through some of the week long stuff, you need that. And I hate to say that you need it, but reality is you need it because you're gonna face what's the 6-star silver right now is the last opponent for some of the tours that we have to do every day or every week. So how can you get this card that you just got at 2-star, and you gotta, you have to build that card up in order to complete the tours to get the resources. I think that would be detrimental to the game in the long run. But hey, what do I know?
So, I mean, I'm just curious because, like, I think there's a lot that can be discussed about all of it. And right now, don't get me wrong, it's only been the first time that we've seen this perk. It's only been in Showdown. But who's to say that that's where it gets limited? Maybe it does happen for Feud. Maybe it does happen for Boss. Like, could this be the end of the 99 MP on characters era? Or do we think that, like, this is just a one-off because it's holiday time and, you know, maybe it's just a once, not once in a lifetime experience, but like a once in the year, you know, type of thing?
Oh, sorry, go on.
I can see it. I think Zoro just said it in the chat. I could see 99 MP being about money soon, and this was just like a test. I mean, I hope it was just because it was the holidays because I enjoyed it, but I can see them doing away with the 99 MP and start charging for it.
Yeah, I think Big Show and Zoro are right. I think it's nailed on. But 99 MP will come to an end at the end of this MLC, and it'll either be something that they charge for as a monthly subscription, or it'll be that you've got to go all out to get the PE character in the first week to be able to have 99 MP for the rest of the month.
But what do you mean be about money now? I mean, it already is about money. I mean, if you play free to play and you max every event and get the gold chest, you ain't getting the card this month. I
No,
think
yeah,
it's
but your first card that you get, the free card that they give to everybody after 4 days,
yeah,
that
no,
has
that one.
99
And
MP.
then you might get the first week card like the JD McDonough, maybe
Yeah.
by the end of the month, maybe. If you're not spending a dime. So right now, what you're paying for to get the card early is the 99 MP. So I mean, to charge more money for that would be kind of, I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be Stokely way. But yeah, I mean, it's already about money. Can't see how it's not.
I'm just curious. There seems like there could be a lot of changes or opportunities or routes to making adjustments to this whole 99 MP concept. I don't know. It maybe I'm just overreacting here because it was on one perk. And it is the holidays. Maybe they were just being nice. I don't know. Talk to me, Envy.
I think to be hype over the new characters, if you take away the 99 MP, it really does take a lot of incentive away to get cards that aren't really game changing. So you have a JD McDonough right now. I guess he's great with the 99 MP, and you get to do all this stuff, and you can do it for 2 months. But otherwise, there's no excitement if he was just you got to build him like a normal month. Because I can't see him in 2 months. In 2 months, he isn't even on my roster.
You think this would... That's an interesting way of looking at it, that if they get rid of the 99 MP, the way that they're marketing these new characters, some of them won't be as enticing because they don't have 99 MP.
I mean,
You
yeah,
won't really want to use him that much.
Yeah. Would you really want to use JD McDonough if he wasn't a 99 MP? Ever?
I mean, to be fair, I don't want to use him with 99 MP.
Correct. But you get the point.
I do, and that is a very fair point. Like I said, I may be overreacting, but I think it's a worthwhile question to pose and to ask, because there's a lot. There's a lot that kind of goes into this game nowadays, especially.
To be fair, I mean, there was a run where we got cards that were pretty good with 99 MP and then absolute trash without 99 MP. And they've done a better job at, I think personally, at balancing that out.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you have certain trainers or whatever, you can make them usable post 99 MP. But there are some times where it's just straight misses. And there is no, I mean, 99 MP barely saves it. So they would have to be careful and might be better for us because they'll have to build better cards. But, I don't think they follow logic sometimes.
Yeah, I will. I'll also kind of touch upon the live chat here because a lot of people are actually chiming in about our 99 MP conversations here, thinking that it's either going to be pay only, and Rusty makes a great point. People hated 99 MP when it first came out. Then they accused Scopely of it being a FOMO tactic, a fear of missing out, and now everybody's worried that it's going to be taken away or monetized. I think that's a great point too. I'm just curious. I'm interested because it seems like such a polarizing subject to discuss of so many aspects to it. I actually remember asking a couple of content creators, and Rusty, you're also in the chat here too, so feel free to I guess let me know what you think in the live chat. From a content creator point of view, do you think that if they got rid of 99 MP, would that be like better or worse for purposes of creating content? I know a lot of players, myself included, like to see the post 99 MP content because we want to know what a character can do in the long run versus what they can do right now in the here and now. Because, and maybe it's just a weird thing to me, but, and again, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus or anything, but if Evo wants to get a character, he's going to get a character. I don't think Evo needs to know what a character is going to look like with 99 MP. He'll just go out there and do it himself. So I'm just curious, like, with, again, this is all completely just a conceptual conversation here, but do you think that getting rid of 99 MP is better or worse for purposes of content creation?
It's okay if I answer on voice, Bob.
Yeah, totally fine. Welcome aboard, by the way, Rusty.
Thanks. Gosh, okay, so it's a double-edged sword because we get these characters before the community to kind of demonstrate what they do, create some excitement behind them. I'm sure it's a marketing technique on some level, and yet then our content becomes dated very quickly because either it has 99 MP and we used it, or because we maybe like a new plate or a moment came out, and so then it completely changes the dynamic of a character during a preview. So I always feel like content's great to watch in real time, but it doesn't archive very well. And I think without 99 MP, it's more archivable. And yet, a great example would be, what video? I just watched a Merrick's video, and I was like, oh, he's so wrong on this because now her plate. I was like, now her plates come out, and so it was Jade Cargill. It was a Jade Cargill preview video, pre-plate, and I just thought this is not. Gosh, it didn't do him any favors. He didn't have the information ahead of time, so now it's essentially irrelevant, and he could probably go and make another video. But like, how often are we seeking out, that Jade Cargill plus plate video, for example? So it really feels like content has a very short shelf life.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that in one of my prize wall videos because I try not to do them early because there are times that the game will actually add things in to the prize wall a little later than not. And one of the analogies that I kind of made for it was, my content is kind of like making something available at a market in the terms of like, I'm selling fresh fish. No one goes out to the market to buy fresh fish to put it into the fridge or the freezer. You're buying it to eat it that night, right? You're not buying it to put it on the shelf. Whereas, if you go and get a can of tuna that can sit for a couple of weeks or even a month, and then you can come back to it and be like, this still tastes just like I thought it would. And I feel like that's a very similar experience with the lifespan of the content out there, that a lot of the content that pretty much everybody makes is very similarly, fresh food, fresh fruits, fresh fish. That's what it is. This is what you're here for at that point in time. And so that shelf life just doesn't really have that longevity. I was really curious about the whole aspect of it being for content from the 99 MP perspective of, does that make it better or worse? And I think it's interesting because it kind of extends that longevity because it's people post 99 MP. That's what you would have to make content on. But now I'm also curious if this perk thing for 99 MP becomes a thing. A showdown perk or a feud perk or a blitz perk, where now instead of just the new characters, every character gets aspect to 99 MP. Now, how do you make content for 99 MP Brutus Creed, for example, right? Like you just mentioned in the chat here, Brutus Creed and Huskus post 99 MP, for example, are basically unusable. Well, what happens if everybody gets the 99 MP perk? Do we magically have some hitters hiding in the bushes like Brutus Creed if he had permanent 99 MP for the competitive game modes? And I guess the flip side to that, to kind of piggyback on what we talked about earlier in this podcast with the Xmas Gears, what would be the point of getting the Powerhouse Cody gear for plus 5 MP if every competitive game mode you would just have 99 MP Powerhouse Cody?
I was just gonna hit on that. I'm like, they gotta be real careful with that because I'm not chasing gears at that point. Why would I ever? 99 MP, that's what make Regal so Regal, his gears or Waller gears. The Cody that you just said. I mean, I'm sure makes him crazy. With as per content, of course, you want to show cards in their best light. I think it's more valuable, obviously, to show a post 99 MP. We have in our server that you guys make, the 6-star silver room, the 6-star gold room, and we're always putting videos in there of how to use a card post 99 MP because 99 MP is fun. It's fun to mess around with, but it's not the long term way of getting a card. So I'm always going to go get the card. So I always put that content out to see if anyone else finds value for their roster. That's my little way of helping a little, I guess. But to say now, all right, so we're going to sell a $10 99 MP pack. That at that point, how are you gonna justify selling a $200 gear, or that kind of thing forward? It'd be tricky for them to do that. I could see it going away from the new card, like it used to be. But I also want to mention, like, what happened to the trial? I missed the trial. We don't get that anymore either.
Oh, the trial characters.
Yeah. I don't think we've had that in a long time.
I believe ever since they came out with their new format in May, I don't think we've had a trial character. That's a solid point too. I mean, look, there's a lot of speculation, obviously, that we're talking about here, especially with the 99 MP, and none of it is confirmed or written in stone. And as we all know, everything is subject to change, including this current weekend with Nia Jax being available in loot, and then she wasn't available in loot, and the game lives off of subject to change. So it's an interesting conversation topic to be had, I think. And as always, there's a lot to talk about. But I'm actually looking at the time here on this podcast, and I think it probably makes sense for us to take a quick little break. And I think we can head on back for a part 2 if y'all are up for it. And we can continue the podcast and in a few minutes here talk about Queen Nia Jax, the way that she actually got released OTC style. We still have the Striker Austin 316 revamp to go through and the best of 2024. So if everybody's up for it and wants to come back for a part 2, we can have a quick little breather and a quick little break right here. And we'll be back with part 2 of Volume 8 of the podcast.